Hello there. Nick Tuttle here at Missy Music Studio, and we are going to be making a song with this guy today. I will adjust the lighting so that you can see better. The instruo Seashell, which is really cool. I've been having a lot of fun with it. But before we can really actually get started with that, one thing to be addressed. I hope you weren't expecting percussion from the Seashell itself, because it just really sounds very doot-y. You know, doot, 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 doot. I want something that sounds like drums. And so I have my drum kit set up. I'm going to lay down some beats, because that's how I usually like to start songs that have beats, is by doing the beat first. So, yeah. Alright, it's time to make bass lines. Here goes nothing. Oof, we got some good squishy bass sounds. Alright, I'm probably going to cut the video, make a small break, and do all our bass sounds. And all our drum sounds. That's half the work, right? You would think. I'm ready to jump in and make some leads and finish up this project, so that's what we're gonna do right now. more than enough parts for a song here, so I think this is a good spot to stop. I have a bunch of cool parts that are like just a bunch of parts stacked on top of each other, so I'm going to arrange it into like a song. I probably am going to add more drums too. I had such a fun time playing the beat, and I'm having ideas for things I could stack on top of it with like my acoustic drum kit or with the Syntact. For you know, it's fun. I have individual mics on every drum on the kit. I just am not using them. I'm just going to use this one microphone right here to record the entire drum kit because sacrilege, and also I don't give a fuck. Here we go. Alright, last part, we are going to make a syntax beat. And probably don't even really need to like do that much. I love this thing, I'm super comfy on it. So I'm just gonna do this really quick. So I've done all the playing I'm gonna do for this song. I still haven't arranged it. I'm actually pretty exhausted and going to give myself maybe a day. Maybe I'll get impatient and arrange it later. But since I'm done with all like the playing for the project and I'm fresh on all the sounds we just made, I figured now would be a good time to ramble at the camera and give you my thoughts. Again, take it with a grain of salt. I am pretty biased because I bought the Seashell with my own money, gassed for it pretty hard, just spent a lot of time playing with it. I've used it live a lot already. I've already had good experiences with it. That admittedly, I could have had a lot of these good experiences with other synthesizers, but they were had with the Seashell, and we're already bonded. We're attached, we're friends, we love each other, and I'm really happy with this. I made this whole song with it. I got it to fill kind of a gap in my current existing collection of synthesizers, which I already love and have assembled. So for me, it's doing a lot of things that it's probably only going to do for me, but I don't know that. Maybe it'll do all these things for you too. Let me try to think of things that I could possibly be negatives or that I didn't enjoy. One obvious thing stands out to me. It is the plugin. The standalone app actually works great. No problems with the standalone app controlling this and getting it to like using the extra features to get like extra sounds out of it. But using the VST inside a DAW, I just encountered this glitch where the mod wheel will always change the pitch of oscillator 2, mess with oscillator 2 frequency. There's no way to undo that. It's only in the VST. The companion app works totally fine. So I did have to figure out a workaround for that, which is just to not use the VST, send MIDI directly to the Seashell, and if I want to use the companion app, just use the standalone companion app outside the DAW, which runs in tandem with the DAW. So like it really was not a problem, but it was very frustrating to encounter that issue and not have a good solution. The other issue was that reset messages from your DAW, or at least from mine, was what I've got set up here, reset messages. So every time I would hit play or record in my DAW, it would send a reset message to the synth. And the reset message would cause the oscillators to detune from each other, and that was kind of annoying, and that took me some more time to figure out too. So those are like honestly the two biggest, most glaring things that I had a negative experience with, and they're behind me. Like, I got them figured out, so like those things are not negatives going forward. They're just maybe something that might be a little frustrating when you first dive into this. Other potential negatives I could think of are really just like the weaknesses of any monosynth. Now granted, this is 2 oscillators, so you can do chords. I had a great time doing 5th chords and 4th chords, just kind of like dyads, you know, triggered by a single note input, of course, because it's like a monophonic input. But it's filling a hole in my collection where like I have plenty of polysynths. I'm not hurting for polysynths. I didn't get this to be a polysynth. So if you want this, if you want to play like a piano player and have like high polyphony count and play lots of chords freely, just like don't look at a monosynth for that. This is paraphonic, this is like monophonic input. Maybe duophonic input. I'm sure there's a way to do that, but it shares the VCA, so there's only like one voice. Not that it's not good for chords, but it's like you're not going to be doing chords and interacting with chords in the same way that you would on a polyphonic instrument. You're going to be multi-tracking, or you're going to be doing a lot of dyads where like the intervals are fixed. Okay, one potential thing, I did notice some popping when I used it as an audio interface. Sometimes it doesn't seem to have affected the recordings, it was just like on the monitoring side. I noticed it had a lot less popping after I read the instruction manual, and it tells you to power it with it comes with a power supply. So power it with the power supply when you're using it for an audio interface. I still heard like 1 or 2 little pops on monitoring, but it was not like nearly as much. So I don't know, it's like a nitpicky complaint, I guess. I'm just trying to find negative things. It does not have a noise oscillator, and therefore I think is not particularly well suited to making percussive and drum sounds. It does have FM, so you can make percussive sounds, not as easily as if you just had like a noise oscillator and a filter in an envelope. So, not that I think it's trying to be a drum synth, and I don't think that it is the responsibility of a melodic voice instrument to bring percussion to the table. That being said, I just wanted to mention it because, like, for example, on the Oberheim Teo 5 or like the I guess the Korg Minilog doesn't, like, you can do percussion, but like it doesn't do kicks well. So there's like you do snare and hi-hats very well. What else can I think of? Like the Hydrasynths can do awesome. You can just make drum sounds on the Hydrasynth super easily. But it's like a flexible digital. It's like proudly digital. It's not trying to be what the Seashell is. They're just different. But if you, for example, were just envisioning yourself sitting with nothing but one device and a laptop and making all your sounds on this one device, maybe the Seashell wouldn't work for you in that context. Maybe you want a Syntact or a Digitact or something. Similarly priced, I think, actually. Last negative thing, I guess, the price. Like, looking at the price tag at first, my first thought, I like didn't even really look at it. I'm like, oh, a monosynth for $800. No thanks. I'm really glad I took a second look. Like, again, at first I was like, this is, you know, ticking all the boxes for an episode of Bad Gear. But then the more I kind of looked into it, I'm like, why do I want this? Why does this call to me? And again, it has to do with, well, I think that's a good, why do I want this? Why did it call to me? Let's move into the things I like about it, the reasons I bought it, and the reasons I'm definitely keeping it and going to continue using it. And it's going to, I think, be one of the more used pieces of gear in my collection. Okay, things I like about it. It's tiny. It's so small. It fits, are you ready? In my pocket. Synthesizer in my pocket. It also fits in my Hello Kitty lunchboxes. Right. The portability. It is so very tiny, and it is so very portable. And cool. Point one. Very tiny, very portable. Love that. Point 2, the sound. The sound. It sounds so very good. I love the way it sounds. It calls to me. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, that's why it's $800. But it's not just that. Like, the value, I think, is there. Maybe not for everybody, though. And then, so we're gonna get, here's a third thing I really like about it, the unique architecture of it. It having, you know, different forms of, like, different ways to do FM, being able to sync the oscillator and do FM, being able to sync it at different octaves, or, like, have it run freely, or by the pitch input, the wave folder being normaled to the envelope, and also the filter being normaled to the envelope. Two things I really love. That's awesome. And then you can adjust the amount or the value of how much the envelope is affecting the wave folder and the filter. I love the filter. The filter sounds super duper good. I love the Q, the resonance, like, on the filter. I think it's really usable. It doesn't self-oscillate that much on, like, most waves, but there's other ways to kind of make this do. I got it to do a sound that sounded like guitar feedback on the recording, if you catch it. And it's guiding me to, like, sound design choices that I might not arrive at by using other synthesizers, and then B, the combination of these features and, like, the kind of unique sound of the filter and things like that, and the wave folding, and just, like, the whole thing. It's a very unique voice, right? So, like, it really can sit in places in a mix where your classic synth sounds and acoustic sounds would have a hard time fitting in that space. And then, yeah, it can just, like, fit into that low-mid box between, like, a bass and a guitar and, like, sit there nicely and pleasantly. Normally, I think of, like, a mix as having room for bass, middle, and treble, but when I use the Seashell, I think of, like, the available options in there as being divided into more usable categories. So it's not like I'm just trying to fill up the bass in the middle and the treble, like, parts of the spectrum to get, like, you know, when I want the full sound or whatever at that moment in the song, I could utilize, like, different points, because very much it can sit, like, in the bass with, like, a nice grindy high end. It can sit in the low mids, it can sit in just the mids and the high mids, and it could, you know, you can do, like, more trebly sounds that don't have a lot of mids or more mid scooped. I feel like I've made the point. It does unique sounds and fits into unique spaces and sonic spaces that other synthesizers and instruments might have a very difficult time fitting into. Seashell does it almost without effort. It's really great. Hey, quick edit from the future. I wanted to add in one more thing about my point about it sitting good in a mix, which is, and one, just I guess another thing that I like about it, another positive for the Seashell, the diffuse knob. Not just EQ spectrum wise can it fill cool spaces, but the diffuse knob helps it to fill nice stereo fields, I guess. You can, you know, it's all the way down it's in mono, all the way up it's, like, pretty wide stereo, and seems to add some sort of, like, reverb, like, I'm gonna call it pseudo reverb. It doesn't, like, really sound like reverb, but it definitely sounds like the sound, like, the tail is, like, somehow stretched out. Maybe it's a little reverby. I'm getting rambly again. So yeah, the diffuse knob is very cool. Sounds incredible. Feature I've never seen on any other synthesizer, and also is one more thing that helps it sit nicely in a mix, like, just almost no matter what, you know, like, if it's sitting with a guitar is a mono instrument, cool, turn a diffuse up and your stereo, you know, your synth hugs your guitar. You know, you're using other wide stereo synths, cool, turn a diffuse down, you know, then the Seashell sits in the center and your other synths hug the Seashell. It's great. Diffuse knob is super cool. More synths should have that sort of feature. It's awesome. I like that it plays nicely with everything. It can take MIDI from my DAW, it can take MIDI from my synthesizers and my drum machines, it can take CV from my modular system. It's a thing that plays nicely with everything else. It's a toy that plays nicely with all my other toys. So for me, that like adds a lot of value to it. I like the output connections, not only can you feed it control voltage in, but you can send control voltage out. There's modulation inputs, there's modulation outputs. So there's other, like, inputs and outputs for interactivity with control voltage aside from just the pitch. And you can even, like, route things to themselves. which I really haven't gotten much into yet, but I will. I'm excited to do that. It seems like it has a lot of good usable connections. You know what else I like about it? The oscillators are really stable. I know I have to calibrate mine because when I put them at 0 and the fine tune at 0, they're not perfectly in tune. And I do prefer to have them manually synced rather than hitting the sync button. The sync button is very cool and provides like a whole wide range of other cool sounds, but it does not sound the same as tuning the oscillators to the same pitch and then kind of play them that way. There is some analog coolness, juiciness going on when you do it that way. So I have to calibrate them. I think I had to move my fine tune knob this much to get them actually perfectly in tune with each other, and then they stay there and it's good. It seems to track volt per octave, and it tracks notes well across multiple octaves as far as I can tell so far. Not to dookie on the Pittsburgh modular Taiga, but comparing it to other monosynths, the Taiga is the same price. It's $800. I owned one and I loved it for a time, but I wound up having to part with it because the Taiga does not have stable tuning. The tuning is drifty as hell. The oscillators would move an entire full step, 2 semitones, 2 pitches, up or down over the course of a 30-minute session. Trying to keep the tuning on it stable was a nightmare. This stays in tune. It's just, I cannot overstate how important it is for an instrument to have stable tuning. A guitar that doesn't stay in tune is going to make me not want to play it. A synthesizer that doesn't stay in tune is going to make me not want to play it. Seashell's got pretty damn stable tuning as far as I can tell, but it still does that analog-y thing when you don't sync the oscillators and you tune them both to unison or an octave apart by ear. I wouldn't call it drift because it doesn't feel like the pitch is really drifting far enough for you to be able to tell, but it's maybe drifting a fraction enough for you to be able to perceive a change in texture. It does the good analog-y oscillator thing without it having unstable pitch tracking or unstable tuning. I guess another positive for not just this, but for all monosynths is that the lack of chords, the lack of ability to do complex chords lends itself towards jamming with others and improv jams. If you can only play one note at a time, you're going to have less of a chance of sounding chaotic and icky, and you're going to consider that one note more. That's my 2 cents. When I go out to a jam with bands or synth night, I typically, even if I'm bringing a polysynth, I will usually almost always run it in mono or unison mode, to leave space for other people and also to make myself more mindful and aware of every individual note that I'm playing. In the context of other people, things can get especially improv, things can get very chaotic very quickly. So monosynth is a really strong choice for keeping you focused and in your lane and not being too much of a spaz, hopefully. A little bit of spaz is good, but we want to be mindful of others. Yeah, if you enjoy monosynths, if you want a toy that plays nicely with all your other toys and is small and portable, if you just want a small portable, fit it in your pocket, fit it in your backpack with your MIDI controller, bring it out for very, all you gotta bring is a small bag or something, great for that. It's great to have if you're looking for alternate synth voices to complement your already existing synths, great for that. If maybe you are in an electronic group and people already, somebody's already got a Prophet, somebody's got an Oberheim, somebody's got a Moog, whatever, those tones are covered, the Seashell is a super good complementary sound. And it can cover a lot of those other territories as well, but I think where it really shines is being able to fill those in-between spots and essentially be an alternate kind of sound to the classic sounds. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to all this. Great job, instruo. I know I had a couple of minor nitpicks and complaints, but everything got sorted in the end, and I still love you. Without any further ado, I hope you like my song. Let's check it out.